best of 3. And whoever wins will be going up against Nerd Rage. To be honest, neither of those fates sounds great. I'm not sure I'd want to be going up against Nerd Rage, but then again, I suppose it's better than just being kicked out of the Premiership.
It definitely is better. We do see SurrealGG on the defense here. Cognate will be attacking, and Festive going for May. Now, Festive kind of had the situation during the first series where he was switching and swapping, and he wasn't really sure what he wanted to play. He tried Hanzo, he tried Mei, he tried Genji. He couldn't find kind of a happy place with his choice. So he is going to start with Mei, which I think is a solid decision on King's Row. We saw how well a couple of the players were performing earlier in the series with Mei on defense, so I think it's a good decision from him. He really just needs to utilize those ice walls to try and segregate teams now and really help out. Because if you do get lost as Mei and you kind of get stuck in certain situations, get stuck in corner, just constantly trying to stay alive, you're not really doing much to your team. You're not helping your team that much.
No, not at that stage, you're not, but here we go. The siege begins from Cognate there on the attack once more. We definitely saw that that was the position they preferred, being on the attack. I think it's safe to say as we take a quick look at the sprays on the wall. But so far, Cognate doing a fantastic job. It is going to be Smex grabbing 2 for himself as well as Arulu. And in fact, Smex turns it into a triple. Fantastic stuff coming out from him. Festive doing his best just to try and fight away against Cognate, but he's not going to have too much luck. A nice couple of headshots come out, and Cognate will grab himself a kill. And that's just him getting even closer to his ultimate as well. Already 99% on Cognate. He's ready to go for a Dragon Blade later on. And
this is what we saw from Cognate on Dorado, especially Fusions as Winston, just getting aggressive, sticking with the DPS and jumping on that back line. They didn't even give Surreal a chance to think there. As soon as Surreal were thinking, okay guys, so how are we going to set... Oh my god, there's a Winston on me right now! That's exactly how that went. They were not expecting it. They were extremely kind of caught off guard there, and now they need to set up and expect the unexpected, as this is going to be a very aggressive push from Cognate.
Yeah, certainly is, and here goes Cognate with that Dragon Blade. Immediately goes for the supports, and there will be a bonus rail in there as well to finish off, but actually only gets 1 kill for himself, so traded straight back by the enemy team. But here comes the sound barrier for the side of Surreal. Maybe this is enough for them to win the fight, but ultimates are available for the likes of Cognate. This fight is not over just yet in the eyes of Malt right now, as he's got that nano boost available for himself, but this is looking good for Cognate. They managed to turn things around. Speds and Specs both grab one as Arulu finished off Malt as well. And look how far they are pushing the enemy team back. They're not happy to just take the payload. They want to take the entire map.
Yeah, they're just overwhelming this Surreal team, and it could have been a lot worse, but thankfully Malt had his Earth Shatter. He managed to get that nano boost. He stayed alive for as long as possible, and he was able to delay this push from Cognate as much as he could. But unfortunately, there's just too much aggression coming out of Cognate right now, and they're just forcing this Surreal lineup back. I wonder if we're going to see any sort of changes. We will. Festive is actually going to change from Mei to Winston, perhaps to try and counteract this aggressiveness that's coming out of Cognate right now.
Well, they certainly need something to counteract this, because Arulu going to be waiting in the wings. He's got that Death Blossom available, jumps straight down and just wipes out the entire enemy squad. That wasn't even with a nano boost. They don't even need it. That is going to be Surreal, just obliterated. Festive, the last man remaining. He's going to try and contest just so his team has time to respawn, but to no avail. He falls off the map. And well, unless he actually jumped back up, I'm not even sure what happened there. Oh yeah, he actually fell off and jumped up the other end. Very well played by Festive there, regroups with his team. And here we go, final team fight of the game on the grounds. A Cognate win. That's a Graviton Surge, but it's wasted. Nobody actually gets finished off in the end. We do see that Fusion's actually pushed super deep for that one, but Cognate is sweeping up these kills left, right, and center. Festive and Cup, though, trade it straight back. But Arulu doing fantastic work for his team. And here is Smex on the Zarya. He's been a standout player for his team on this map, and he's continuing to do so here as he finishes off Cup, and he continues to push this payload forwards.
Yeah, and now we just Surreal in that position once again. They've switched to the Diva, they've switched to everything. They can try and get to this payload as quick as possible. They haven't been able to take down any members of Cognate yet, though, as Mole also goes down, Festive goes down. That's your 2 tanks down, so now you've just got your DPS and your supports to try and survive as long as possible. But now if Cognate play this right, if they just work together, if they just keep targeting, it may take a while, but they will eventually be able to push this payload right to the end.
Yeah, they managed to get another bit of distance there, and that will be the 3rd point finally captured. 4 minutes and 10 still remaining on the clock at the end of that. Very quick time coming out from Cognate. Fantastic stuff from them. 3-0 start, and in convincing fashion, no less. regardless.
Yeah, and I want to credit Urulu as Reaper. I mean, I know Death Blossom is such a fantastic ultimate, and you can just kind of drop and kill anyone, but he specifically targeted the support. When he dropped with that Death Blossom, he killed Kapazana, he killed Dana's Lucio, and he also caught the McCree as well. So 3 of the most important in that composition, they all went down, just leaving those tanks just to suck up all the damage left from the DPS coming out of Cognate. So great targeting from him, and I think this is what Cognate were doing well actually earlier when they did play. They were good going forward, and they looked great in fact, but it's just their defense that wasn't quite there. So now it's going to be interesting to see how they do line up on this defending in King's Row.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for them, that is for sure. SurrealGG now going to be the ones on the attacking Cognate. Let's see what kind of composition they decide to use on the defense. Looks like Cognate going to be sticking on this Genji. Now, Genji, a hero that, depending what team you're watching, there'll be kind of different opinions on what Genji's like on defense. You do see some teams that will just pretty much pick Genji no matter what. They just think he's such a powerful hero that you can kind of just swing any game using that ultimate. Cognate, obviously one of those players that is of that opinion, but you do see other teams that really don't like to go with Genji on the defense and would much rather go with something like a Mei.
I think how successfully he was kind of targeting those support characters in previous games, I'm not surprised he's going for it on defense. It's also good just to counteract a Genji with another Genji. So if they are expecting one of these Surreal members to choose Genji, then it is a good choice for him, definitely. We do just see the 2 tanks, Fusions and Smeks. We don't see Winston this time for Fusions. He's going to stick with Reinhardt, which I'm not entirely surprised. They don't need to get as aggressive now. They just need to hold for as long as possible. They are in a really good place going into the defense here.
Absolutely. Let's see what Raylan can do on this Genji. He's got a lot to live up to with Cognate on the enemy team, who's been doing fantastically so far today. But here we go, the fight already underway. Very aggressive push, but Molt gets shut down almost immediately by Urulu, who's grabbed himself 2 kills already. Smeks and Speds chime in, and well, Surreal immediately on this attack just gets shut down, and they're just left wondering what on earth went wrong, because you know, it looked like a pretty solid push. They all went in together. It was a coordinated push, but immediately Cognate just say, no, you're not allowed on the A side right now.
The main difference was Molt just went a little bit too far with that Winston, and because of that, he has now switched out for Reinhardt. I think he's more confident with that, so I'm not surprised he's kind of switched that one out, but he just went a little bit too far, and he was caught off guard, which was the main difference that we saw, because Cognate Esports weren't doing that. As the Nano Boost now comes down onto Molt, he is swinging his hammer, but the players from Cognate are just running away from him, so he's not being able to do too much. He does manage to take down Anna, which might be important, but now 3 members of Surreal go down thanks to great work from Cognate here, responding extremely well to that Nano Boost.
Yeah, entire team wipe coming on through for Cognate, and well, we've seen a time of 4 minutes and 10 seconds set by Cognate. A fantastic attack out of them, and now they're looking to reenact that fantastic score on the defense. 2 minutes 30 left remaining for Surreal to push on in here. Raylan does have his ultimate available. Maybe that will be enough for them to really actually make this push effective. We've got to see this Dragon Blade be a game changer, to be quite honest. And here we go, he's going to be coming around the flank. I fully expect him to use this ultimate. Urulu, though, is going to be using that Death Blossom, finds 3 for himself. And well, Dragon Blade or not, it's not going to be enough to win a fight at this stage.
That's definitely not. Great work from Urulu. He's just targeting so well. He knows that he needs to go for those tanks because he knows how effective those shotgun bullets are. And look how aggressive Cognate are. They get those few kills and then they just push. And they get back to that wall. They get back to that front line. And they just set up once again. And now we see Surreal pushing again. But they're trying exactly the same place they've been pushing before. And they're just playing in the hands of Cognate at the moment.
Yeah, well, here we go. Dragon Blade available for Raylan. The sound barrier is there. He's still not going to be using it. Finally goes for that one in the end and will be able to immediately pick up 2 kills for himself. This is the spree that they needed out of this Genji player, and he will be able to live up to the hype on this one. Spets goes down, and it is a clean team kill coming out for Surreal. That's the push that they were waiting for, and they make it happen.
Yeah, that's what they needed from the Genji, and that's what you expect of your TPS characters, to come out clutch in those moments, to really perform those kills well. It obviously synced up well with the Graviton Surge, so good work from them. I think they need to combo those ultimates a little bit more if they are going to be taking down Cognate here.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. Cognate actually pushing quite far forward, considering they're on the defense at this stage. Usually you see teams just back away kind of concede this street area until that second corner, but they're not willing to do that. They just want to keep taking the fight to Surreal. Festive already went down in this situation, and you know, one advantage of playing like this is think of how much of their ultimates they can actually stack up. They're the ones that haven't used their ultimates as recently as their opponents, so should be able to stack them up fairly quickly, but I say that. It looks like they should be able to start to build them up. Smex will use his Graviton Surge, and this should be them taking control of the payload once again. There shouldn't realistically be a way that the likes of Surreal win out that fight, and Raylan, he's the last man remaining and will get forced away. Nano Boost actually used on Cognate at the end there. I feel like a little bit unnecessary, but all in all, it is Cognate taking control once again.
Credit to Surreal and credit to Cup, actually. He's using his sleep darts very effectively. He was able to kind of take down Fusions and put him to sleep, and that's when they pushed in. In the end, it didn't work out because the Nano Boost came out and the ultimates were there for Cognate, but actually Dragon Blade is available for Cognate, so they need to be careful that he doesn't get behind them and then just start slicing them to pieces, as Festive is trying to push for this payload. He's trying to get the damage, but he's just shooting shields at the moment.
Absolutely, here we go. Dragon Blade comes out from Cognate. He's immediately onto that backline and doing some serious damage. He nearly takes out the enemy Genji, but will get finished off himself. Trading kills blow for blow right now at this rate. And Raylan, he's got his Dragon Blade, but he's incredibly low on HP. It's so dangerous for him to go in at this stage, and finally finds himself a little bit of HP. But Arulu is there spinning on top of the payload, and he just runs straight onto the barrel of a shotgun. Frankie just desperately trying to keep himself alive as he blasts the entrance as soon as he's gone through. But SurrealGG, once again, pushed back. They can't seem to get control of this payload. 1 minute and 40 seconds left before they need to get this next checkpoint.
Seems like every time Surreal kind of get their foot into this payload, suddenly Arulu just comes out with an ultimate and just shuts them down. As Graviton Surge will come out, and we do see Fusions getting stuck in there. He has to charge out. There is another Graviton Surge comes out on the opposite side. A few members go down for Surreal, and it's just 3 of them left now, but it is a 3v2 situation in the favor of Surreal.
Yeah, there we have it. Surreal are going to be able to take control, finally. And this means that they should be able to at least get very close to this next checkpoint. I don't think they'll be able to get it immediately. There should be some contention here from Cognate. Unless Cognate maybe decide that this isn't something they want to contest. They might just hang back on this one, but doesn't look like that's the decision. They are going to continue to take this fight to their opponents. Dane does have that sound barrier available, and immediately we see that used. Arulu on this backline right now, and Earthshatter available for Fusions. I wouldn't be surprised to see that soon, but actually it's Raylan. He's the one to watch in this fight because he is taking these players out left, right, and center. Cognate, they're not going to be able to defend this one. The checkpoint will be reached. And Raylan just bullies Smex off the map.
Whilst Cognate have been defending relatively well, they've not been getting any real team wipes. They've been kind of taking down 3 or 4 players. 2 have been escaping from Surreal. Those players from Surreal have then been picking off a couple from Cognate, and then that's when they push, and that's when Surreal get their kind of wipes, and that's how they've managed to get this payload so far. They do only have 2 minutes to work with. Cognate obviously pushed a lot quicker, but it's whether Cognate are now going to be able to hold successfully at this last-ditch attempt.
Absolutely fantastic. Earthshatter, though, coming out here. Cup incredibly low. Dane going to be the first one to go down. Festive finds 3 for himself, and Frankie chimes in for 1. That is a fantastic push from Surreal. They've taken out 5 players. Cognate the last one remaining. And you mentioned how, obviously, it was a quick time for Cognate, but we saw in our 3rd best of 3 today that time is not everything on these hybrid maps. It can go to a tie. And it looks like Surreal, they have not given up just yet. They are very much staying in this series. Sound barrier comes on through, though, for Speds. Cognate has actually swapped onto McCree now. Let's see if that'll make a difference in this series, as Molt does end up going down. In the end, Festive arriving on the scene, and that is going to be a Graviton Surge in favor of Surreal. Is it going to be enough? It looks like it might be. Bastion actually coming out from Cognate, just trying to mow down these players, but he's not going to be able to. Festive grabs a triple for himself. This is surely the payload going to be pushed on forward. Arulu finished off. Paradox is desperately trying to contest, but not for long, I fear. This should be the payload push forward.
Fusions is very close to getting his Earthshatter, but he goes down, so it's just Speds left on this payload now, as we do see Cognate as Bastion trying to do what he can, but Molt is just keeping his shield up. Graviton Surge does come down, so he's going to try and get as much damage as possible, but these players from Surreal are just surviving as Cognate are running in 1 by 1 and going down like flies.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to burn time at this point, and Fusions will be able to do some serious damage with that Earthshatter, but slowly but surely, this squad will be finished off. Cognate just doing what he can, but doesn't actually get there. In the end, round 2 down, 17 seconds remaining. So Surreal, not the most convincing time we've ever seen, I think it's fair to say. And against 4 minutes and 10, It's going to be tricky. However, you know, if you do have a time, it's cranked up to that 1 minute mark. Obviously, Cognate also get that bonus added onto their own time. So, you know, it's still not a convincing time for Surreal. They've still got a lot of work ahead of them. However, Cognate, with 5 minutes, you would think that they should be able to push this harder than their opponents.
You'd certainly hope so, especially considering how well they defended and how long they kept Surreal off that first point in that initial rotation. So now Surreal, they need to say, look, what do we need to do to kind of get this to this payload as quick as possible? We tried Winston last round, it didn't really work. Let's stick with what we know. Let's go with Reinhardt, which you see Malt currently selected. Obviously, he can still change. He does have 30 seconds. Rylan at the moment is hovering over that Widowmaker. Now, if you do go with Widowmaker on King's Row, it does work if you can get a pick on one of those crucial support characters, or perhaps just a DPS character. If you could take down a Mei, for example, if you take down a Lucio, then that can really be an advantage for your team going into this team fight. But not much time to work with Surreal, and Cognate will definitely be confident going into this second rotation here. They may even feel like they can just hold off this first point.
Well, they've got 1 minute to hold out for at this point, as we are going to see it's Surreal on the attack to kick things off here. They did a fantastic job on the defense last time, but this time they are going to be the ones on the attack. Cognate going to be there on Mei this time to see what he can do with that little Ice Princess. Nice little wall there is going to mean that Raylan is all on his own on the wrong side of the enemy lines, and he will get finished off immediately. First casualty going the way of Cognate, and they're looking for more as well. Malt will get frozen, and just look at Cognate. He's just such a pain for the enemy to have to deal with. There's another ice wall, and just so difficult to deal with that kind of player. There's a nano boost as well coming on through. Arulu just about survives with his life. Malt, he was the one with the nano boost, but just immediately the sleep dart comes on down. Trading blow for blow though, Cognate. They've not won everything just yet. Cognate does actually end up going down, as well as Smex. Festive on this Reaper doing a fantastic job. They might just be able to get the A point. Here comes Fusions though. He's got that nano boost and he has his Earth Shatter available as well. There goes Malt. He will be able to continue to sweep up these players. Look at the damage coming on out of this player on the Reinhardt. Smashes up against the wall, but will get finished off in the end. And I think they might be able to get this 8 point unless the contestant can come out.
Yeah, and I've got to give credit to Paradox. He kept them in this game. That's actually now the Blizzard will come out from Cognate, so he's going to be able to delay this just a little bit longer. He does have support from Speds as well as Lucio, but there's going to be more members of Surreal coming in as Rylan tries to get some damage, but Cognate is just doing everything he can to delay, to be annoying, to give his team time to catch up.
Absolutely nice little ice block there as well, just to, as you rightly say, delay things right now. But the fights are definitely going the way of Surreal, and look at that, Fusions immediately just charges away from that situation. Cognate can't hold the A point. However, Surreal are now out of time. All Cognate need to do is regroup and win a fight, and that will be the end of the run for Surreal. That will be their time set, and with 5 minutes on the clock, Cognate, they just have to beat the distance that Surreal managed to achieve. Yeah,
they need to choose their point where they're going to attack. They need to decide whether they're going to go for some sort of pincer effect, whether they're just going to go for a Graviton Surge into like a Reaper ultimate, but Arulu is 20% away, so he's going to have to save a little bit. You can see he is just kind of hovering up to your right of your screen, just waiting to get behind us. Both Graviton Surges come in, and both teams come out with Earth Shatters as well, as the whole teams just fall on the floor, but Nano Boost will come out onto Malt as he comes swinging. Arulu will respond with the Death Blossom, but that will be all of Cognate Esports going down. Surreal managed to take this team fight.
What is going on with Cognate right now? Surreal have stepped up to another level, and Cognate don't seem to be able to fight them anymore. It was off the back of that final push at the end, like when it was Surreal originally attacking, when they got onto that final corridor, it felt like Cognate could no longer fight them. And they managed to keep this momentum going. We were talking about momentum, we were talking about mentality. Surreal seem to be on top of everything. Cognate cannot scratch them right now. We're still just in overtime, but they are not stopping. Arulu, though, has the nano boost, and he's looking for Malt. Should be able to finish off that kill in the end as the charge goes all the way across the map. And now he changes targets, looking for the next one. We're running out of players for Surreal right now. Festive drops and Raylan. He's got to try and hold on to overtime, but I don't know how long he can hold it for here. The overtime ends. And it is going to be a singular point going the way of SurrealGG. Not a overwhelming score out of them, but considering they only had a minute and most of that was done in overtime, still a fantastic score to set.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially considering the minute, I mean, that's a great kind of target to set for Cognate. It's not an easy one if you can get a good hold on that first point. I mean, you never know. Surreal might be able to keep Cognate from even getting that first payload, which is going to be very important, as we see now the nice flickering of Fighters of the Storm. Great
I would
camera
actually
work
love for that to be a real game.
If it was a real game, that would be absolutely incredible. So if you're listening, Blizzard,
I would definitely main Tyrael. Definitely would main Tyrael. But there goes all of our hopes and dreams. As I believe that was, who was it? Speds, I think, that shot that one down. So cheers, mate. Just ruin everything, jeez.
So now we will see Cognate again. Fusion's going as that Winston. We saw how successfully we were able to take this first point in the first rotation, because basically Fusion's just jumped in on that back line. He then had the shield of Smex, so that he wasn't taking any damage. As soon as that shield went down, he then put his own bubble up. He sat in it. He just danced around and did as much damage to the back line. He then said to his Knockney, look, they're all weak. You go in and have your fun. You go and slice away, throw stars at every single thing you see.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. Now it's Cognate on the attack, and let's see what SurrealGG have got to bring to the table on this defensive side. We've got Festive here on the Junkrat, interestingly. First time we've seen him here today, and we don't really see Junkrat much in professional play at this point. But maybe he knows something that we don't, and he'll be able to bring something crazy to the game. But Knockney already pushing very aggressively forward, and a fantastic reflect means he takes no damage. Molt already going down. Fantastic attack so far, but Festive has traded it onto Fusions. Look at the damage coming out from Arulu. Already goes into his Wraith form though, and has to back away from this one, as well as Knockney. But a very long kind of skirmish going on between these two teams. Nobody really committing to a massive wombo combo, but there goes Festive. Smex is able to just sit back and DPS 100% on his laser right now, and will be able to finish off more and more players. Look at the damage coming out from him at this point. Frankie goes down. This might just be a fantastic push coming out from Cognate. Surreal losing out on the A point, and a convincing attack to start things off for Cognate. Fantastic start. They've evened things up on 4-4. Now they've just got to get to the checkpoint.
Yeah, despite the fact that Fusions went down early as Winston, because he pushed in, and I think Smex missed his bubble. Fusions, as Winston, can get back into that fight so quickly, and because it was kind of trading 1-for-1, there was no clear winner of that team fight. He was able to return to the battlefield quicker than Molt was as Reinhardt, and eventually that was what won them the team fight. And now they only need to get this payload to that golden grid, to that gold point that you see on your screen there on the bar as they keep it moving. But now it's what could Surreal do defensively here.
Well, Smex has his Graviton Surge if he chooses to use that one. Nano Boost as well coming on out, and Knockney finds two for himself, but Molt trades it straight back onto Paradox. Paradox had already used his ultimate though at that point, so maybe it's not enough. Smex still holding on to this Graviton Surge, waiting for the enemy to run out of ultimates before he chooses to use it, but Raylan shuts him down in the end. This is a very even fight between the two teams. Raylan has the Death Blossom if he chooses to use that one. I wouldn't be too surprised, but he's going to be beaten to the punch as Arulu is the one that's doing his best Beyblade impression. And the payload will continue to move.
Yeah, it will indeed, and that's just great work from Cognate. They just respond well to every single ultimate. As soon as they see something coming out of Surreal, they know exactly what ultimate they need to use to counteract it. And you might have noticed that Knockney's just been flanking around perfectly with his team, and then returning to that payload just to make sure that he keeps it moving, that he keeps it pushing. As long as you have at least 3 people on that payload, it will move as fast as possible.
Fantastic Earth Shatter comes out from Molt onto 3 players. Frankie gets swarmed, but Smex and Paradox immediately trade it. And this is bad news for Surreal. They can't afford to lose these players. Raylan gets his Death Blossom, but it's not enough to finish off these players. He manages to find 2, but he goes down for his trouble. Festive now, the last one on the scene. He's got to keep the dream alive. He's got to dodge up, dick dive and dodge, but I don't think he's got it in him anymore. Goes too high and gets shut down by Arulu. The payload pushes forward, and Cognate take the first map of this series. It is now 1-0 to Cognate Esports. SurrealGG on the cusp of defeat here on King's Row.
SurrealGG made a game of that though. It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I mean, the fact SurrealGG were able to get those 3 points surprised me. Offensively, they looked actually quite strong. It was just they struggled a little bit towards the end on that defense. They used their ultimates a little bit too aggressively, I feel, and allowed Cognate to dictate the style of play that they wanted. But Cognate looking strong, going 1-0 up, and now it's going to be how they can move into this second map and what they can do, and whether that's going to affect the mentality at all of SurrealGG. And we saw that Nano Boost come out several times onto Molt, but what Cognate did well is they allowed the Nano Boost to come out when they'd say, look, we'll lose one one team fight. As soon as that nano boost is used, that's when we come in. That's when we flush them. That's when we push this payload. So good work from those guys.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic teamwork coming out from the two squads here. And now, if I remember correctly, we're going on to Gibraltar. Was that the next pick? Relying on you for this one, because my memory's terrible. You said it in a really high voice, so I'm not going to believe you. I think it was Hollywood. It's actually Hollywood. It is Hollywood. I was pretty much guessing with Gibraltar. My memory is appalling, by the way. We're going to be jumping onto Hollywood now. Another hybrid map. And after how close that map was, you know, that shouldn't have been that close, realistically. When you look at the times that the two teams actually finished that first half, it was a fantastic push from Surreal at the end there on their attacking overtime. But in the end, it wasn't quite enough. Now they get almost a second chance to prove themselves. With Hollywood being such a similar map to King's Row, maybe this is their kind of lifeline available.
Yeah, perhaps it is, but I think you're right. I mean, there was a massive difference. There was obviously a 4-minute difference, and that would have come into play later if they had reached that second checkpoint, but they obviously didn't. We do have a tweet from Perry Gumpster. He says, that was insane by SurrealGG in the ESL UK Prem series to get that far in overtime. Haha! Smiley face.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. It was a phenomenal push from them in overtime, and I think I've only seen a similar performance like once from, I think it was Misfits way back in the Atlantic Open or something along those lines. I struggle to remember where they actually managed to get the full 3 checkpoints in overtime. I think it was on Gibraltar or something, but that's the only other time that I've seen a team really succeed during only overtime like that. So fantastic play coming out from them and keeping themselves in the game. And I've got to say, I want them to keep that mentality about themselves. Obviously, they're 1-0 down in this series, but Surreal are definitely not out of the running just yet. They are one map away from being knocked out of the Premiership, and if they lose their morale at this point, that will be the final nail in the coffin. They've got to keep their heads together.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps because the game was that close, it might be a chance for them to build their morale. They might say, look, we made a game of that. We were 4 minutes apart, but we brought them to kind of the cusp of losing that game. It got so close, and I think perhaps Cognate got a little bit scared, and they went into panic stations, and they started charging that payload, saying, oh, we need to stop them. They're on overtime. We just need to win one team fight. And then that played into the hands of SurrealGG, and they were able to get it that far. But now they need to just kind of move on to Hollywood, just keep that momentum they had, keep that do-or-die attitude that they showed during the overtime.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be jumping onto the second map of this best of 3 now. It is going to be Hollywood, and I think it's about time we jump onto the server and see who is going to be able to take this series, because this potentially could be the final map in this series. This is a best of 3, and so far Surreal are 1-0 down against Cognate. Let's see if Cognate can finish things off, or whether Surreal will be able to pull themselves back in. We jump onto another hybrid here. Hollywood, I think this is the map of clutches right now. This is the map that if you can really push an overtime, once you've got that payload, this is going to be it.
Cognate will be defending to start things off. Surreal on the offensive side. And actually, Smex hasn't chosen a hero. There we go. He's going to be picking Zaya. So we will see the typical 2-2-2 coming out of Cognate. And they do actually, they're going for a McCree from Noxme. Interesting, because he has been playing Genji for the majority of today. But I did mention at the start of the show that does have a very good win rate in competitive mode with that McCree, so I am not entirely surprised. Now, offensively, it's going to be what SurrealGG do go for. At the moment, it looks like they're going to go for a Roadhog just to try and initiate those pulls, try and get one of those hooks, try and take one of those supports out of the game nice and early, which is going to be very important if you can do so, but you have to hit those hooks. So many times I've seen people play as Roadhog and be unable to get those hooks and then find themselves in a dire situation because you are such a big target, as you are a big fatty.
Certainly are, but here we go. It's going to be Surreal on the attack to start things off here, and Cognate on the defense. We've seen that Cognate are more than comfortable being the ones to defend to kick things off, but a fantastic hook to start things off from Frankie. Nearly goes down himself, though. Does manage to get the heals. Once again, picking his health bar right back up, and Festive pushing forward quite aggressively here. Look at the charge, though, coming out from both of these players, and they managed to push the attacking team back quite significantly here. Surreal, they have to kind of go back to the drawing board and work out what just happened, because everybody but Railing goes down. Surreal, after what looked like a pretty convincing push to start with, they just get flattened.
I'll tell you what happened. Smex happened. He bubbled up fusions when he got hooked. That then buffed him up. It buffed his kind of gun up and he was like, look, I'm now charged. I can now do some damage. And I wonder whether that might even be a tactic. Let your Reinhardt get hooked, because you know your Reinhardt's not going to get shot. You're able to bubble him up, and that gives you that instant charge, because that Roadhog is automatically going to be hitting that left click to try and get the damage on whatever he hooks.
Oh, fantastic hook coming out from Frankie there, straight onto Paradox, and here we go. It's going whole hog onto his opponents right now. Not sure I would have got on inside when I've got my ultimate ticking right there, but they are going to be able to trade it a couple straight back. SurrealGG, they're not out of this fight just yet, and Arulu gets shut down right as he uses his Death Blossom. Bad news for him, and look at this fight coming out from Raylan. He is sweeping on up, and Cognate, they looked great at the start of that fight, but just couldn't keep it up.
They definitely couldn't. That was great from what Surreal did. And actually, it was that hook from Frankie that just initiated that fight. And I said that's what's going to be important. That's why Roadhog is starting to find its way into the meta. That's why we do start to see these pro teams using Roadhog. More so defensively than offensively. But, I mean, if it's going to work that successfully, I'm not entirely surprised. Especially if you have a confident player who does know how to use Roadhog. They know how to position themselves. And you find as Roadhog, people say, oh, you're a tank, you need to get in front of the action. Yes, sometimes. But I feel sometimes having that kind of surprise attack and manage to hook someone kind of round a corner, it can really change a team fight.
Yeah, it really can. I think Roadhog, in a lot of people's eyes, is stopping being a tank and starting being a DPS. But here we go. Speaking of DPS, Cognate are starting to lose theirs as look at the damage coming on out right now. Festive went on an absolute tear there. Arulu finished off by Raylan. And I think that was the quickest team wipe we've seen in the entire Premiership so far.
Yeah, and I said that Cognate were doing well defensively, but Surreal pushing forward are looking great now. As a team fight, they're just focusing a little bit better than Cognate at the moment. You saw that Festive was able to kind of get nano boosted up there, and that was what really made the difference. And actually, the nano boost came out from both teams, as now the Graviton Surge will come down, being kind of greeted by the Earthshatter as well, but players will be going down left, right, and center. Arulu picks up 3. Smex will take down Molt as well, leaving just Raylan on his own to kind of dance around, but he's going to have to flee here.
Yeah, and that's basically Cognate saying, hey, you've used all your ultimates. It's time for us to use all of ours, and immediately get that team wipe as Fusions just unfortunately misses the lift and then has to sit there with a sad face on for just a couple of minutes while he waits for it to come back down. But here we go. Cognate actually swapping over to the Pharah here as well. No hit scan available for the likes of SurrealGG. So this could be a pretty important pickup for the likes of Cognate in this next fight, so long as he can dodge away from the hooks coming out from Frankie. But a nice sleep dart comes on through, and that will shut him down for just a little bit of time. As Molt just charges straight across the map. 1-for-1 right now as the kills start to come on through. Dragonblade will be charged on through as well from Raylan. 20 HP, but he doesn't seem to mind. Gets a couple of reflects and will be able to survive just about. Will be finally finished off by Cognate. Festive on the scene as well, doing whatever he can in that Wraith form now. But will get shut down in the end by Fusion. Cognate once again on top of things.
Yeah, Fusion's actually, he got nano boosted, and whilst he didn't do much damage, the nano boost came on just to keep him alive. If he had gone down, that could have been a different team fight. SurrealGG may have taken it, but instead, Paradox took the initiative. He nano boosted up Fusions. Fusions then stayed alive and was able to help his team secure that team fight. Now we will see ultimates getting ever so close for Cognate. Smex has almost got his Graviton Surge. Noctney's almost got his Rocket Barrage. So this could be good for Cognate. They need to work out how they're going to stop these ultimates coming out of SurrealGG, though, as you do see Festive and Cut both having their ultimates available, and you know how deadly that Death Blossom Nano Boost combo can be.
Certainly can. Paradox is going to be deadly as well, though, as he finds the first kill of the fight. Arulu now pushing forwards with those shotguns ablazing. It does actually have to go into Wraith form as Festive, while he's looking the wrong way, Festive just goes into the backlines, nano boosts and spins around, spreading death all over left, right and center. This is surely going to be another checkpoint coming on through. Still a minute and 30 on the clock. This is a fantastic push by Surreal on this one. Nano boost comes out though onto Cognate here on the Pharah. Can he finish off these players? Looks like they will be able to hold on to this checkpoint, at least for now. Molt on the backline trying to find his way onto the payload, but he won't be able to get away with that one anytime soon. Fantastic little bit of regrouping coming out from Cognate. I was sure that the checkpoint would have been grabbed, but they managed to hold on.
And good work from Cognate as well. They kind of delayed their kills. They staggered them a little bit just to try and save a little bit of extra time, as one of the members of Surreal, I believe it was Rylan, went down quite late, so they will have to wait for him to respawn before they can make their push. And they've only got probably 1, maybe 2 pushes left in them. They're going to have to really utilize any ultimates they do, and it looks like the next ones that are going to come up is probably going to be from Cup, so expect that nano boost to come down onto Molt.
Watch Cognate though, he's behind them and he's got his rocket barrage. There's 3 DPS just stood there sitting ducks right now. Surely he'll be able to finish these off. Fantastic hook comes out, just completely shuts down the ultimate though. Amazing stuff out of Frankie, but is it enough right now? The health bar's still got incredibly low, and I think Cognate did the damage that was required at that stage. Arulu is there to finish off half of these kills as well. And look at this, actually pushing very aggressively for this one. They know that there's only 15 seconds on the clock. However, Raylan has run around the side. He's looking to just get onto this payload. If they can find this checkpoint, they'll be in fantastic stead. However, there are defending players still hanging around this limousine, and they will be able to finish off the remaining lads of SurrealGG. This is going to be just a singular point on the scoreboard for Surreal. After what looked like it could have been a very convincing half, they only managed to get one.
It was going so well for Surreal, but then Cognate kind of switched out. We saw Cognate go onto that Pharah, and actually it made quite a difference. I know that Rocket Barrage, he got hooked there, but he'd already done the damage. I mean, if he was able to get that Ana as well, it would have been incredible, but it was just taking out that first support character that just allowed Cognate to push the rest of Surreal away, and I feel like Surreal tried to answer that Pharah. We did see Raylan switch to McCree, which he just couldn't get him though, because Cognate was hiding so well. He was using the buildings, he was using his height advantage just to stay clear of Raylan.
Absolutely. Well, Cognate, they've had the par set now. They can decide how they want to go about taking this map, and you know, they have a decent amount of, you know, to be honest, they don't have that much work cut out for them. Only having to get to the second checkpoint of a map, realistically, you're expected to get to the second checkpoint of the map. I think that's fair to say, and Cognate 1-0 up in this series, and could well turn this into a 2-0 at this point, unless Surreal can really pull something out of the bag. They've got to defend for 4 minutes right now. Their best bet at this stage is to just hold A, but it's such a difficult task to pull off.
And I think Cognate are going to try once again to take SurrealGG by surprise. We see Fusion's going for that Winston. We've got Cognate as Pharah, so they're going to be flying through the sky at Surreal, and Surreal might not expect it. We did see Raylan, he was McCree, but he's now switched out to Mei, so he's not really going to be able to do too well with those characters that are going to be flying around. Paradox as Mercy, who's going to be supporting that Cognate. Expect her to just be on the backside of Cognate, keeping him alive and also giving him that extra damage boost, but then she'll be flying back and forth between Fusions and Cognate, keeping them alive at that front line, and then Arule will be running around having a field day, just finishing off everything that Cognate and Fusions put damage on.
Certainly will. Well, here we go. Surreal going to be the defense this time, and Cognate already on the far, going super deep on this one. Look at this super aggressive push already coming out from Cognate. They're not looking to give Surreal a second here, but so far it's not too successful. It's kind of even on the scoreboard. 2 for 3 at this stage. Cognate losing out a little bit. Paradox on the scene, doesn't have his res available though, and Cognate will end up going down here as well. Arulu suddenly the last man on the point, and fantastic defense from Surreal. And I think very well done by them just to read the fact that this was going to be super aggressive and manage to survive out.
I did say I didn't know if they were going to have anything to deal with Cognate, but actually Raylan Asmei was able to pick him off using that right click effectively. So great work from him. As now we will see them jump in again. Now Winston doing exactly the same with the bubble, just trying to stay alive, but the damage is going to be just too much. He's just leaping in there to try and stay alive, but Cognate is going to be using her justice from above, as now Blizzard's going to come out as more kills come out.
Gets him straight out of the air. Fantastic bit of marksmanship, but unfortunately for him, the rest of his team is already dead, so it doesn't really achieve too much, but I mean, props to him for that sick couple of rockets onto Dane. It's not quite enough to get them the point, but certainly gets some swag points off of it, and now Cognate, I think they need to slow down a little bit and actually regroup.
This is what I was going to say, that they were trying to get that payload a little bit too quickly. They were maybe a little bit too desperate to kind of win this one, but Cognate will switch out to Genji now, so they're going for a little bit more of a different approach, as Paradox is going to switch to Ana as well. And we will still see Winston as Fusions, as Cognate is now jumping in, trying to do as much damage as possible, as the Ice Wall is just keeping a few players away from this battle. Yeah,
Sound Barrier did come out for Surreal there, which I think is a huge edge in this fight for them, and it is going to mean that they can just about get away with this one pretty much for free. I don't think anyone even died for them, and there goes Cognate as well, just going to get punched in the face by Raylan, and actually he's looking for Arulu as well. The dynamic duo aren't quite going to get taken down, as Arulu manages to zap himself away. And I love how Raylan, at the end of every fight, just returns to this position, ready to ice wall once more.
Just hides in the grass. He says, actually, I'm camouflaged here. You're not camouflaged, Raylan. They know where you are. But it's good work from SurrealGG. They're doing what they needed to at the moment. They do know this is exactly what we weren't really seeing from Cognate. It's just this early defense, and they are delaying it as much as possible. The Blizzard will come down as well from SurrealGG, but Cognate does manage to pick up kill. He does have Dragon Blade available as well, so he needs to push in and try and use this, but his teammates are going down like flies.
Absolutely. Arulu also with the pulse bomb, though, they can still make this work. Both flankers in a very aggressive position. They just need to wait for the respawns. Now that they've got a few ultimates for themselves, maybe this is their opportunity. 2 versus 1 right now onto the likes of Festive, who should end up dropping from this one. Arulu finishes that kill off and then rewinds himself straight back over. Nocni did go down, though, but in the meantime, Smex is pushed onto the point. There's a Graviton Surge. This is the opportunity for Cognate to actually finish things off. Arulu's there grabbing these kills. And there goes the laser, melting down the health bar of Molt. Paradox is the one to finish that one off in the end, and that is going. The body just launched into the sky. Fantastic stuff, but that is going to be the point coming out for Cognate in the end. But a little bit too close for comfort. Only 30 seconds remaining. They do obviously get that 2.5-minute boost as they get that checkpoint, and now it really starts to get dicey for Surreal. They've got to repeat this performance that they've had on the A site and hold this defense.
It's really important that Cognate just slowed that down. You saw both Nocni and Arulu. They were very patient about their play. They said, look, we're kind of behind. We've got our ultimates. Let's just wait for the rest of our team to push up. Patient play is what they needed. They were just a little bit too aggressive to start with, and it wasn't really working out. It kind of played into the hands of SurrealGG because Raylan was doing so successfully to delay as main. He was being a real pain, but then we saw his body go absolutely flying, and he got his deserved end.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. That's going to be the nano boost going in onto Fusions, and it's going to be Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, but Molt doesn't survive the nano boost and will end up going down. There goes Dane as well. Fantastic push coming out from Cognate. They don't lose a single player, and it's going to be a full wipe going the way of SurrealGG. Cognate, this is their opportunity to push. They're so close to getting to the checkpoint already. Respawn's only just coming on through for Surreal. There's one last team fight in this game if Cognate can win it.
This is what happens to SurrealGG. They just seem to crumble as Graviton Surge will come out, and that'll be 2 players, both Cup and Dane, the 2 supports that are going down. Raylan's going to do what he can, but Festive comes out as well with the Death Blossom, so they're going to be able to take down 4 members, leaving just Nocni and Paradox. But Nocni does have that Dragon Blade, but he's going to have to back off. He's not going to be able to do much now because the rest of his team are down.
Yeah, he's got that Dragon Blade. Does jump around. I think just trying to get as much harass and allowing himself to die to just get a better position so he's with his team once more. They definitely knew he was there, so wouldn't really been able to achieve much from that flank. And now Surreal back in charge of the payload. They've got 1 minute and 20 to hold out for, and if they can, they will stay in this series. Fusions does get shut down there, but it's traded for Raylan. 1 for 1 so far, and here comes Smex. Doesn't have his ultimate available, but the Dragon Blade for Nocni will be used. I want to see where he's going and what he's doing, because he's slicing through the supports right now. Will be able to pick up Cup, and he needs to find more than just that, though. Arulu as well on this backline trying to finish off these players, but I don't think they've quite got enough to finish this fight off just yet. Festive is going to be here trying to finish off Nocni. He can't quite land the shots, though, and Nocni will get away with his life. It's a stalemate right now on the payload, and there's Nocni as well as Arulu starting to chime in. They're finishing off these players, and they're starting to try and push this payload in.
Yeah, Nocni and Arulu just doing fantastically to do as much damage as possible. Blizzard will now come out from Rennie. He's going to be able to slow this all down, but we will get the rest of Cognate coming to join the team as Nocni is just running around, slicing and dicing everything, but he does get taken down by Molt as this last stand from Surreal as the Earth Shatter comes in as well as the charge, and Surreal doing everything to keep alive in this game.
Yeah, super clutch Earth Shatter right there. Keeps the payload from moving at that point. Needs to continue this performance, but the anti-heal grenade comes out from the Ana, and that is going to mean that Arulu has to do the work. Festive, though, with a Death Blossom, does manage to find 2 for himself before getting shut down. This is the longest fight we've seen in so long in the Premiership. Fusions on the point. Nocni there with Arulu as well. They managed to finish off another one. Frankie has to back away. Raylan using that Ice Wall just to try and survive, but I think he's going to be going down. The rest of the team jumping straight onto the payload. Frankie is finished. Molt locked down and pinned against the wall. Festive now arrives on the scene and will be able to pick up a kill of his own. The respawns keep on coming in, though. Festive with the nano boost finds Nocni, and the fight continues, but here comes Spexy with that Graviton Surge, can it be enough though? Nano Boost once again. Festive will be finished off. Here goes Dane as well. If they can finish this player, they might just get it. But there comes Frankie and they keep the fight going.
Yeah, this fight is just so stagnated at the moment. It's going back and forth, and realistically, SurrealGG should eventually take this because they do have the closer spawns, and they're doing so well to force them off the payload. They've got to be careful now, Cognate. They need to stay on the payload. Now they are just hitting everything. Festive now just comes in with Wraith Form. He stays alive, but he goes down immediately. Dane now comes in, but he goes down as well.
Cognate
that will be enough for Cognate Esports. They take the map. They take the series. It got so close, and Surreal really put up a fight there, but wow, what an ending.
Be still my beating heart. Cognate, what was that? I mean, I don't think I've seen a closer team fight in Overwatch. After earlier on in this series on King's Row, we saw them just trading team fight for team fight, full 6-man clears each time. And then that final push, I mean, you could see how much it means for each of these teams just by the way that they desperately keep pushing on in. That, I mean, what you don't even need to say anything about that. That is the power of a Nano Boost and a Death Blossom coming on through. That is how you wipe a team, but what a team fight to finish things off. My throat is basically dead at this point.
I mean, Cognate was just doing